Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Scott,
I'm Jason.
and you're listening to another episode of Liquid Kernedge. What's up, buddy?
Oh man, the weather's starting to be a little cooler but beautiful. It's a beautiful day out today. Living the dream, loving life, loving everything.
I cannot agree more, man. I had one of those quiet weekends where I didn't do a damn thing. It was a little bit windy, a little bit cooler up here, but I basically just stayed in. I watched a bunch of Netflix and got caught up on my DVR, and it was amazing.
We need those days, and people don't realize they always want to go, 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 go. You need a day where you just do nothing. Just do nothing.
Yeah, and I had to recharge my batteries bad, man. Last week was such a rough week just across the board with meetings and deadlines. I needed a day just to get myself composed, and it was nice. It was nice. It was very
That
much
does
needed.
sound good. That does sound good.
How is House Hunt 2019 going for you?
It's going well. So we made it through the inspection process. Everything that was on the inspection report that we asked the seller to fix, they're fixing. So that was a good move. And then today we ordered our appraisal. So sometime next week we should have an appraised value of the house. And if that goes well, then we'll close at the beginning of May.
Hey, that's amazing. Congratulations. You're a homeowner again, almost.
Almost. We'll see. If the appraisal doesn't come in at the right, like at what we're paying for, like if it comes in low, then we might have an issue, but we'll deal with that when we get there.
Oh, well, I'm sure it'll be fine. Fine. I saw our EP was at Country Thunder this weekend. He had himself a grand old time.
Oh, he did.
You can see that we had some fun with Tom on our social media as well. Him wearing that Budweiser hat played perfectly into that felt cute meme phase going on right now. So if you hadn't checked it out yet, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. They're all there at Liquid Kernedge. If you want to give a shout out to Tom for going to Country Thunder and wearing that Budweiser cowboy hat, hit him up at liquid_EP on Twitter and Instagram.
It's so funny because I wouldn't have expected our EP to be a person who would go to Country Thunder or any kind of event like that. So how many years has he been going now?
I think he's been going this is probably 4 or 5. And that's the way he explains it. So that way everyone knows. He doesn't buy the tickets for the RV space there. His buddy does. But his buddy crashes with Tom in his camper at the space. So Tom gets to go because he has the camper.
Makes sense? Then is it just him and his buddy? Or is there a big group of people and they're just
I got the impression that his buddy brought his like daughters and wife and whatever else. For a little background, Tom on Friday texted both you and I, for our listeners out there, and said, you guys should come to this. You'd have a great time. And you and I both considered that an invite. Like, well, great, we'll stay with you next year. And he promptly said no. When I said you should come, you should get your own fifth wheel and your own parking spot. My stuff is full. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That happened. That was our EP in rare form, inviting us out somewhere, and then reality hitting in that no, we still had to go out and get our own campers and tickets and everything else. So thanks, Tom. We appreciate it.
Well, it just makes me think because we have some friends from Lake Havasu who go to that event every year, and they've been like 3 or 4 years, and they go. They have Tom and his friends go every year. And I always think about those people that who follow like certain events, like they do a tour across the country to follow the events or follow something special. And it always makes you think like, where did these people get these passions and like go out? Like, how do you find your passion like that? And then just say, you know what, I'm going to just do this wherever it takes me. And if that takes me, across the world, then I'm going.
Oh, I agree, man. I think it's a great thing to have, and it's a great hobby to find for yourself. And most people don't find it till later on in life too. Like Tom was never this social, but he does go to Country Thunder and NASCAR twice a year, which I'm guessing is basically the same demographic.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it's just beer drinkers and music lovers and partiers, and everyone wants to have a good time.
Yeah, because I'm not actually sure he actually got to the actual concerts themselves or gets to the race itself. It's just he wants to go for the people watching, which is amazing. If you meet him, you realize he's not a people person very often. So for him to get all of his peopling out in 3 weekends every year is pretty remarkable when you get down to it.
Well, and it kind of leads into something interesting that happened to me this weekend. So Noreen has a coworker friend who has been very generous about inviting Noreen to go out to lunch once a week, and then they also do concerts together. Well, she introduced us to a friend of hers who is just this really just. I don't know what the right word is, so maybe you can help me when I explain it. But he's a guy who is passionate about certain things and makes it his point because he's retired. It makes it his point to go and just experience these things.
Like what kind of things?
Okay, so like he belongs to the Mid-Century Architectural Society of Phoenix.
That's a thing.
And what Mid-Century Architectural what they do is basically they go around Phoenix to all of the buildings, architecture that's been built between 1945 and 1975. And they'll do like tours of people's homes, or they'll do tours of buildings, and they raise money to remodel or refurbish buildings that might be in decay but are from that time period of architecture.
What the fuck is that? Like,
yeah.
So like they walked to like a 1972 ranch style home in Arcadia and just ooh and ah and like look at pick the people apart about what they should do or could do with their.
So his passion even goes further. So he bought a house that was built in 1961, and he has furnished, and all the fixtures and everything is from 1961.
Well, that's a little much for me.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. He's passionate about it, and he loves it, and he's got a group of friends that he goes and does these things with. And
well, that's more than a passion. That's a lifestyle.
Well, I don't.
Okay, so define it for me. Like, things, but that's not a lifestyle.
Like, what are you passionate about that you would make a more bigger part of your life?
What am I passionate about that to make a bigger part of my life? Cooking, for example.
Okay. So take your love of cooking and expound it to say, I'm going to go to every, I don't know, cordon bleu restaurant in the world.
Yeah, that's a little much for me. Like I would go along the lines of, I'm going to go to every Triple D restaurant I come across in whatever city I go to.
Okay. Wasn't that, Dora and Kurt Manley do that? They go to every Margaritaville. Yeah. So every Margaritaville they make sure that they go to. And the cool thing about their passion is that every place that they seem to go to, it's like a touristy destination, like someplace warm, someplace with nice water. So their passion's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great passion to have. And I'm not knocking this guy's passion. If he loves, mid-century decor, which is a 1961 ranch-style house in Arcadia or North Point in the Valley, more power to him. I respect what he's doing, but as far as I'm concerned, it's 2019, and my passions are the modern luxuries that we have today.
Oh, okay. See, and I think that he probably was born and raised in that time period, so for him, it's a callback to older times, but I still think it's just kind of cool that he is passionate about something like that. I don't have those kind of passions. Like I have some passions, but not to the extreme where I am part of a society, or I, like you said, go and I'm going to travel to every restaurant in the world. I think about my mom, who just loves Adam Lambert, and she travels to places all over the place in the country, United States and overseas, to go to see him perform, like at Queen, like when he performs with Queen. Now the show is the same, right? The music is the same, but her passion brings it so that she wants to listen to every single concert that he's in for that.
And I respect that, but at the same point, man, there's a lot of albums I have that I've grown up loving that I can listen to and get taken back to that point in time in my life, but I would have a hard time going to see Shinedown like all over the country just because I love their concerts so much. I like the music, I like seeing them live, but after 4 or 5 times, I'm like, this is cool, but I feel like I should be doing something else.
Do you think it says anything about a person who becomes that attached to something that they make it like a big part of their life?
Isn't there a show on Nat Geo about that called Taboo?
Oh, I don't know. I don't. That doesn't sound familiar to me. But
I'm just thinking out loud. If you're that passionate about certain things, yeah, like there are people that. Excuse me, my allergies. My voice just cracked. there are people that love the medieval times so much. I mean, they dress up for Renaissance fairs and they speak only in the king's language, if you will, and go to the park on Saturdays and have jousts. More power to them. Not my thing.
That's not your thing. Your thing is more a traditional, like I have a passion for cooking, but I'm not going to go over and above and beyond to get something like possess or obsessive about your cooking.
Exactly. You know, I have a lot of gadgets, but I'm not going to like go into a 4-star Michelin rated restaurant and call out the chef because I think his bisque is crap. You know, it's I'm not going to do that. I love football. I'm not going to go challenge Chandler Jones to a hitting contest next time I'm in Glendale. You know, there are certain lines to what my passions have.
Okay, yeah. And see, so let's take the football. So you're not passionate enough about the Cardinals, for example, that you would, if you had the financial resources, would travel to every game, no matter if it was home or away.
You know, and Tom used to have season tickets, and I'd go down to the games a lot. And I would go to a couple games throughout the years. And for me, it's a lot of fun to go. I've seen a lot of big games live, but now the older I get, the more I appreciate watching them on TV because you miss so much at the game. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You know, like if I had the opportunity to go sit in the box, and I guess I could watch the game live, and I had replay and commentary right there too. Yeah, I would go, no questions asked. I would love to do that, but I think that phase of my life has passed where, like, I feel like I need to see every game live. It's like baseball and basketball. I'm a big fan, but you can only get so much of an experience when you see it live. Sometimes it's better just to have the stats and be able to watch it closer on TV.
Now, there is one passion that you know about very well of mine, and you know that I'm ritualistically passionate about it.
Your 4th of July Thomas Jefferson Marathon?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
If I could go to Monticello every year just to see Monticello, I would.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get that. And that's like why we would go to New Orleans every Halloween. It's one of those things that it's just cool to see. It's cool to be a part of that culture and that vibe, and I get that.
And don't you think now? Do you think that people, though, when they hear, "Oh my gosh, every year for the last 4 years you've gone to New Orleans, same time, same everything," do you think that people go, "Oh, that's kind of cool," or do you think, "Wow, Scott, how many times you got to go to New Orleans before he gets old?"
I think it's a mix.
Okay.
I think a lot of it is if people are like, "Oh, you went, so you just go and you get drunk for 4 or 5 days you're down there." That's not the case at all. And every time you go, at least in my experiences down there, I find other things to do. I've been to the restaurants, I've been to the bars, I've gone to the tourist sites. Now it's every time we go, it's about finding the other deeper things, that the deeper rooted histories of New Orleans, the haunted histories, the darker stories about trade and Creole, things like that. You find other reasons to go and other things to see.
Well, and so the reason why I bring up this guy about who's in the mid-century architecture society is that he invited us to an event at the Valley Ho Hotel here in Phoenix. That's called the Tiki Oasis.
Yeah.
So if you're, I don't know if you're familiar with Tiki Oasis, but the main convention is held in San Diego every year, but they've been trying to see about maybe expanding out to different locales across the United States. So this year it was the first annual Tiki Oasis held at the Valley Ho Hotel down in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Now the Valley Ho, for the people who don't know the Valley Ho was built in the 50s, and its architecture and its modelings are off of like a 50s resort hotel that used to be the premier place to go in the 50s for movie stars and people who wanted to come to the desert.
And that's over in Tempe, right, on the Tempe-Phoenix border.
No, it's in Scottsdale. It's right off Main Street in Scottsdale.
Oh, okay, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
So as we're walking around the Tiki, now I've never been a huge fan of Tiki, but everyone who's there are vendors and people who visit the thing are all people dressed up in Polynesian outfits and, really big into Tiki. Now, I thought Tiki was something Polynesian, but it's not. It's, I guess in the 40s, it was a fashion that I guess people, when they wanted to furnish their homes, wanted to furnish in this Tiki Polynesian type of motif. So that's where it came from. But so I've seen watching all these people walking around with tiki stuff on. Well, this one guy comes up to the group that was there, and his name was Tiki Bob Brooks. Tiki Bob Brooks. Now you're thinking to yourself, wow, the guy's name is Tiki Bob Brooks. I think that's his pseudonym for his lifestyle, but he basically started the subculture of tiki obsession back in 1994. So I had no idea. I'm talking to this guy. The guy comes to me and he's wearing like an ascot, and he's got like a fedora on, and then his little garb, and he seems kind of quirky, but he was harmless. So I'm talking to him.
Yeah, he seems quirky. He's wearing an ascot and a fedora at a tiki convention. Carry on. So I get talking to him, and I find out that he actually started following tiki 25 years ago. And he has been traveling the United States to every tiki convention, tiki oasis, any of these for 25 years. Some of them he actually started. He was one of the first people to go to the tiki oasis. Now, at first I was a little taken off, like, wow, who is this guy? This is so weird that this guy, has devoted his life to tiki. But by the end of the conversation, I thought, wow, what a cool dude. Like, this is kind of cool that he's doing this. And I think it's just my quirky personality. I'm okay with people being kind of off a little bit because it matches me a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I could see why normal folks would look at someone who is that obsessed with something and say, dude, like you, dude, get a life. Like, I would never say, dude, get a life. Like, man, that's your bag. That's great. That's not my bag. Like, there are clearly people like you in this world because you're at a convention, and there are conventions over the world about tiki lifestyle. And if you're one of the leading tikiers, is that a thing? Then carry on, my wayward son.
No, but what I guess what I'm saying is not that you have to be interested in tiki, but do you get a little put off by someone who's that obsessed with something to that level?
No, I don't.
So it doesn't bother you that he is obsessive about that.
No,
it's more of that's not my
forcing it on me. Like, hey, you should get into this tiki lifestyle. Look what you can do with this tiki lifestyle. You'd appreciate the tiki lifestyle. Like, that's not my thing, man. Like, you do you. Like, that's fine.
But, yeah. See, I don't have that thing. Where like my life is driven toward that passion. So I'm wondering, am I an exception or am I the rule?
I would think I think more people, because of the way the society is built today, we are not built to have like deep passions. We are a very quick information driven society.
That's not true. That's for you young whippersnappers.
Think that way. I'm damn near 40 at this point. So
what?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude! Don't tell our listeners. They might not listen to us anymore.
That's true. But
I'm the only whippersnapper. Now I'm the only old guy. You're the young kid.
Yeah, right. Well, in this case, I am the young kid. But my point being, though, is people my age too. They want their information fast. They want it succinct, and they don't want to get any deeper than they have to. It's the social media society.
Yeah, and so the lack of depth by the younger people means that we don't get those meaningful communications because everything's an informatic world.
Exactly. Now, I will give credit to the people that go to the Comic-Cons all over the world. We had a chance to go to one in Vegas about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
My buddy Ralph JP and I did, and it was a whole different culture. While that wasn't as big as the one in San Diego. Those people get down for it, man. They dress up as their favorite characters. They've got cosplay. They do reenactments from comic books. I mean, if you're going to go to that level, I appreciate what you're doing. Like, good for you. Like, I respect the fact that you're going to take that much time and be that passionate about Princess Leia. You want to recreate exactly the bikini she wore in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, more like you said, more power to you. I think that I've always felt the same way about people who get really, really, really into their old antique cars.
Yeah,
where they have an antique car that they have now invested like $150,000 to make this antique car. And I look at them with amazement, like, wow, you know so much about cars, but yet you'd spend $150,000 to put into a car. Are you kidding me? Like, why don't you just buy a house? Like, you know what I mean?
There's a gentleman years ago that donated his 1923 Ford model. There's a 1923 Ford Model T or whatever I forget what it was. It was an old Ford. And he had restored it to factory specifics all the way down to the stitching, I mean, it was a passion for him. This thing was pristine. He drove it on trips
Yeah.
to Sundays, but everything was circa 1923.
Whoa.
And he donated it to my foundation to raffle off for the the tax deduction or whatever else, because he was in his 80s. He wasn't going to be able to take it with him.
Okay.
His kids didn't care about it, so he wanted to make the most of it. And man, just to see the book he had was how he did everything. He had a whole book on how he did the stitching in the seats, how he came to the paint color of the paint on the car, the two tones, and the leather top. It was amazing. It was pristine. And we ended up selling it on eBay to a very famous singer. So that was kind of cool too. But he was the singer was also very passionate about cars and what detail went into them. So it was kind of a cool thing.
Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, that's the kind of passion, especially when, obviously some people get passionate about things that are kind of detrimental to our society or detrimental to certain people in a society.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see people who get passionate about things that are harmless, that don't hurt anybody else, but you see them get excited or, and asking them, hey, tell me a little bit about what you're passionate about. And then you get like the whole run on about, oh, this and this and this and this and this. And
oh yeah, it's crazy, man. And like I said, I respect that. There are very few things I'm that passionate about in life.
Yeah.
Like I have a very fast paced lifestyle as it is, so I guess my mind isn't wired to find something, at least right now, to where I'm that dedicated and passionate to it. There's been some cases where I've gotten passionate about binge watching certain shows to see how they end, like the Breaking Bads or the game, not Game of Thrones, but Sons of Anarchy. But that's a different kind of passion. That's like, all right, this is a good show. I want to see how this story progresses. So maybe storytelling is a passion of mine. That's why we have this podcast.
Maybe
you could say this podcast is a passion for us because, like clockwork, for the last 2 years, you and I have made time for this and dedicated time to this to put out the most of the best product we can.
Yeah. And let's be honest too. How often does a passion actually result in financial gain?
Exactly.
For someone?
You can't do this for the money. You got to do it for the love of the game.
Yeah. Oh, that's deep. You should put that on a cup.
I might put that in a cup. We'll see what
Take
happens.
that to Hobby Lobby. See if they like it.
See if they want to sell it for me every day but Sunday, baby.
That's right, baby. That's right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I feel like for me, I'm kind of like you. I don't really have very many things that I'm so passionate about that I would, travel across the country for. But you're right. I think as I get older, a passion for certain things that I've enjoyed, like, you take the first few years of your life and you find those things that you just enjoy, right? You just enjoy it. Like, oh, like I like going to New Orleans, or, oh, I like, doing whatever. I like Thomas Jefferson. So every once in a while I'll go travel to Monticello. But then you get to a point in your life, it's like, you know what? I enjoy this so much that I want this to be a more integrated part of my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so then maybe it's like, okay, so when I'm going to, I want to go and become part of the, the voodoo culture, or the, what's the guy that we had on the podcast?
Chris.
Yeah. I want to become part of his society where we go and do that stuff. Those kind of things. And maybe that does come later when you've had a chance to see a lot of different things, and you said, okay, I really enjoy these passions, and that's what I'm going to focus on.
Yeah. And like
so it's not over for us, buddy. We can still have passions.
It's age and experience,
That's right.
But all this leads me to believe is that if we become passionate about Liquid Kernedge, which I like to think we have, we should start our own convention. We did the Hans Gruber Memorial Pub Crawl. We can call that the first year of the convention. But maybe we should look at having another Liquid Kernedge convention, something a little bit lower key right now, maybe, where we can all meet and go to like a ball game or answer some Liquid Kernedge trivia at a bar.
We've talked about that for the last year. We need to do it. We need to stop talking.
We've got that, and we're getting people asking about our drunk history still, so we have to get that lined up. So I think what's going to happen is, once you get this house situation figured out and you can come up for a weekend, we can do our drunk history, and we can have a Liquid Kernedge convention right up here in our birth town of Liquid Kernedge, Kingman, Arizona, the origin of our great show.
I think that's a great idea. I still would love to at some point do the Liquid Kernedge tour, where we travel somewhere and record on the road and have.
I would love that too. Bruce was actually our friend Bruce is down here for the weekend. He's supposed to be on the show tonight, but he got tied up with family issues. Was asking about when we're coming to the Old Sack.
Oh yeah, we need to go see Old Sack.
Go check out the Old Sack, and then maybe drive back to Arizona from there, and have ourselves a Liquid Kernedge road trip. So maybe a weekend thing like that would be good for us. Fly up there cheap, and then rent a car and come back.
We need to do that. We gotta stop talking about it and do it though. So off air, we'll start focusing on that and get something going.
I think so, and I think anybody that wants to accompany us, whether it be our EP Tom, our former intern JP, Bruce, if he wants to drive down with us for the weekend, man, anybody that wants to get in the car and ride along, it'll be like the what's that band from the Muppets?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Oh, that'd be funny. Yeah,
we could have a very deep conversation about everyone's passions, stuck in a minivan driving from Sacramento back to Arizona. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, exactly.
Well, I want our audience to tell us about their passions. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Tell us what you're passionate about, or is there something that you're finding that you are passionate about as you get older? You're just not quite there yet. Like you think there's some potential. Tell us how passionate you are about Tom's Swear Truck Gifts of the Week on Instagram or Twitter, all at liquid_EP.
As always, very well done, man. Very well done. I'm actually kind of glad that our EP survived. I was a little concerned after day 2 and 3 when the pictures started rolling in. I was like, oh boy.
Oh yeah. Him in that Budweiser hat was nice, but when he sent those pictures this afternoon about him cutting that corner too close to the fifth wheel and the trash can. I think he shattered his window. But that's why they have insurance.
That's true.
That's why he has insurance.
And isn't that part of the story that makes the passion so much better? That has that story now too.
Exactly. So. like I was hungover. The show was over. I was heading home, and I cut a corner too close and shattered my window. That's not a story I would have told. It'd have been way more interesting. Like we were having a raging party back there, and some guy came running and looking for his girl, threw a bottle of whiskey, a fire started. I would have gone with that.
Yeah, that would have been a good story too. But I just like the pictures that he was sending throughout the weekend of the craziness that was going on. It looked like it was going to be fun. I sometimes wonder if I would even survive something like that.
Yeah, I have those same feelings. Like, man, I would
heat,
die.
booze, and half scantily clad people. You never know what's going to happen. But
I feel like if I went, like I would run off into the night, you would never see me again until I got an Uber home.
Exactly. You'd end up at the Florence prison out there.
Exactly. Or on stage with Chris Stapleton. You never know how that's going to end up. I feel like that could become a very great story if people could fill in the gaps.
That's true. Very true. Very true.
All right, buddy. Why don't you take us home then?
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We really appreciate you. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Kernedge.